I really truly believe through our darkest periods, there you will find your light.
We have the most incredible transformation coach in the arena with us.
How will you understand someone's pain if you never went through something difficult? I can reduce trauma only in one session by 75%. We closed our coaching, I think 17 million dirham we made.
What is the reset method and how does it work?
We work on the brain, we work on the physical body. You want to try it?
I would love to. Why initially did you go into the corporate side? Was that some influence from parents, or was that something that you just had a calling for?
You know, Angela,
Gladiators, welcome back to another episode of In the Arena. I am Angela Soudi and I will be your host. And today we are talking all about transformation, and we have the most incredible transformation coach in the arena with us. Shandia Bhondu is not only a specialist in mental health, but she works with individuals to create lasting change, working on the mind, body and spirit connection. I can't wait to delve into this conversation. So Shandia, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the arena.
thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am incredibly excited for this conversation because there's many things about you that I find fascinating. But before we jump into that, I'd like you just to introduce yourself for our listeners, please.
Well, my name is Shandia. I'm 40 years old. I'm a spiritual life coach, a psychic and a healer, and a business consultant. I have my degree in educational learning to families. I've worked in mental health in the Netherlands, and there was where I decided I really want to help people out because, you know, in healthcare system, you're just a number. And I felt the urge, the calling actually since a young age, that I'm here to really help people out and to connect them with themselves.
Wow, goosebumps again. You keep giving me goosebumps. I'm going to be sitting here shivering for the next hour, I know. But I find that fascinating because you actually started your career more down the corporate side.
Yes.
And then it was through that journey that then you thought, hang on a second, there's something that I'm meant to do here, there's something more.
Yes.
So how did that shift happen? And why initially did you go into the corporate side? Was that some influence from parents, or was that something that you just had a calling for?
You know, Angela, I always felt as a little child, when you would ask me, I still remember, I think it was in 3rd grade or something, and you know, the teacher asks you, what do you want to be? And everyone wants to be a firefighter or a nurse. And I was like, I want to be a mom and a businesswoman, and I'm here to help people. And like I said, I'm a psychic. Everything that I get from my clients about their life, I also got it from myself, but I always thought it was my imagination. And when you will ask my sister how was I as a young girl, she was living in her own world, but that own world was where I saw I would head. And it took me a while because I did different studies. I'm a beautician also, so I've done a lot of things. And somehow I thought I want to work with children because I had my own childhood traumas. And I felt so stuck in life until I started my bachelor. And I was 21 and I have done many studies. I didn't finish them. I finished a few of them. So my mom was always like, okay, what is this girl going to do? Why can she not be normal like my other children? She mentioned that very often, but the difference is when you are very spiritual, when you are sensitive, you live a different life because you have a different purpose. And what you see with people who are very sensitive, who are spiritual, they go through a lot of obstacles in life. Why? Because they need to be prepared to help people later on. Because how will you understand someone's pain? I'm a true believer of that. How will you understand someone's pain if you never went through something difficult, if you never went through some hardships? And that is where you grow. What's happening with you right now?
Yeah, no, I agree fully with you.
I see it.
And I feel that, and I strongly believe that our biggest growth is during those times of our greatest pain.
Yes.
And in my own life, I've also experienced that. So going back to childhood then, where were you raised? Where was your childhood?
I am born in the Netherlands.
Okay.
I've been raised there. My parents are from South America, but my roots are Indian. So I've lived there basically all my life. And in 2021, I decided to move to Dubai. That's a whole story also, because I always seen I would live in a country with tall buildings. And I think the first time I had this vision for myself, I was around 8. And again, I thought it was my imagination. And because I come from a really different life, that the life that I'm living right now. My mom divorced my dad when I was 2.
Okay.
It was very difficult and hard for her. She was sick. She had mental stress due to the divorce. My dad, he was using drugs. He was very abusive. So luckily I didn't experience it because I was still 2 when my parents divorced. But I have seen how my mom was struggling. Sometimes there was no money, and then I had my world where I would live in tall buildings, and I thought it was New York because at that time Dubai didn't even exist like it is now. And I always felt, okay, my life will be different, and I was a different child. So it started from there, to be honest.
God, how many siblings do you have?
I have 1 brother and 2 sisters. I'm the
So
youngest.
4 kids, divorcee with 4 young
Yeah.
children, I'm
Oh,
guessing.
Yes, because I was 2, and there is an age difference of 9 years between me and my older sister. So she was 11.
Wow. Hats off to your mum.
I get goosebumps. I'm so proud of her. And today's her birthday, so it's
Oh,
so
happy
special
birthday.
thing.
Happy birthday, mum.
Thank you. So
Wow.
today's her birthday.
Is
and
she still in the Netherlands?
Yes, my whole family is living in the Netherlands. I'm alone here. I'm so proud of her. And you know, we had last year. Yeah, last year I went to the Netherlands and we had this beautiful conversation. And I had struggles with my mom because she didn't understand me. She was actually surviving, and then you have this different kind of kid who's very emotional, who is different than your other kids. And she was always very worried, okay, what will happen with her? She doesn't finish her school. And then she decided to be a psychic, to predict the future for people.
Which she can't understand because that's not where
No,
she
because
comes
I'm
from.
the only one in my family who has this.
What about grandparents? Because usually they say these abilities are passed down through generations.
To be honest, I don't know, because my grandmother passed away when she was 64, and I think I was at the age of I was young, so I cannot recall a memory that I was like, oh yes, I have learned that from there. And when I always had this vision, I saw in the Netherlands they had a TV show where psychics would come on live television, and people could call into the studio and they would get a live reading. And it was in my depression. I was like 25 and I was in bed. I was very depressed, and I had very much arguments with my mom, that my mom was like, go on, what depression? Because, for them that doesn't exist. Like, a depression for what? You have an easy life, you're going to school.
Compared to what she went through, I guess.
Yes, but for me it was different. And I remember that day so strongly. I was in bed and I was looking at the TV, and there was this TV show. Until that time I didn't even know that psychics existed. So I saw that and I was fascinated. Oh, she reads the future for people. And then I heard in my head, and when I say I hear in my head, we all have our guidance, And I had always conversations with myself, but it's my guidance who told me all these things. So I heard you will be sitting there on the TV show too, and I thought, okay, what will I do there? And I heard you the same. And I thought, wow, what a great imagination I had. But it turned out when I started my own company in the Netherlands, I was screened by Dutch television, and I was sitting there as a psychic and got my own TV show. So there I realized, it was at the age of, I think 2016 it was, so 9 years ago. 31, there I discovered I am actually a psychic.
And did you remember at that point, did you think, I've seen this? where I am right now in the physical body, I've seen this in my mind all these years before. Did you connect the dots at that point?
Yes, yes. I have seen as a little child, I get goosebumps again, that I would be somewhere in Asia and I was standing there. I love dresses, so I had a long dress. I'm standing on a stage and there were a lot of people, I think 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, I don't know, but because it was a huge crowd. And I was standing there and I was telling things and people were like, like really focused. And then I saw all those people sitting with their eyes closed. And at the age of 8, I thought, what is this for crazy thing? Now I understand. I'm a healer. When you heal, people have their eyes closed. I had my own events in the Netherlands where I would do, like little seminars, healing sessions. When I worked for Dutch television, I had my own program where I would heal people also. So yeah, I connect the dots now, and I understand that the vision that we have in life, it is your vision, and no one else needs to understand it. You need to trust that fully, and when you do, God, the universe, your guidance, however you want to call it, will align you and make that happen.
Because isn't that beautiful? But again, I guess this is my little gripe with the current system of education, because we don't allow children. It's designed to keep them in line, be quiet, sit still. I mean, children as young as 5 and 6 and 7 sitting for 7, 8 hours a day on chairs, not allowed to run around. It's still now I can't really get my head around this. And I think that if we gave children this space, because we have a lot of self-doubt, right? And the self-doubt comes from other people's programming and those programming being put onto us. But how liberating for a child to be able to explore that creative side of themselves and then have that support network around them. Because you didn't have that. So you're going through these transitions as a child. Your mother didn't understand what was going on. So you didn't necessarily have that support network around you.
No, but Angela, I think that was the greatest thing for me, because there is where I learned to walk my own path at my own pace. There is actually where I understood myself, and I have a very loving family. I love my mom beyond. Even actually we got along at the age of 30. I was in a depression and I told my mom, I don't want to celebrate my birthday here. Let's go somewhere and celebrate my birthday together. And she said, Dubai. I thought, what am I going to do in Dubai? So I turned 30, 26th of November. That night we took our flight, and the moment, Angela, the aircraft landed and the door opened, and there is nothing special when the door opens and the heat comes in the air.
Exactly.
But I get goosebumps again. It felt like home.
Wow.
And we were driving on the Sheikh Zayed Road, the IFC, and I was mesmerized by those tall buildings. And then I get only goosebumps. I don't know what's happening. Well, I know
Me too as well.
Yeah. And at that moment, I looked at those buildings and I told my mom, Ma, here is where I'm going to live. And she said, not in a million years.
Oh,
I said, watch me and I will bring you here for a holiday then.
Why not in a million years? Because she was worried that you'd be away from... I guess also you'd gone through a depression. So she's thinking maybe mentally you're not strong enough at this point to live in a different country.
I don't know if, in our families, just be normal. Just have a normal life. And my mom always said, like I mentioned before, why can you not be normal like your siblings and go to school, finish your education, get married and have children? But that was not the life for me to develop in that way. And so, because this is new for my mom too, now she understands, and my family, they're really proud, now. And my mom said to me when we had a conversation, because I had a lot of deep conversations with my mom, and my sister always said, we all know your mom's favorite. And I said, no, I don't know. But then my mom admitted I'm her favorite. But I think because we clashed a lot also.
She felt disconnected from you for so many years.
Yeah, because she didn't understand, because it was far beyond her understanding, spirituality and everything. And I'm happy if you would ask me, Shandia, you would have this same life and would have not all the obstacles like, childhood trauma and all those things, and have an easy life and come here at this point, or just have the same life, I would choose for the same life because it taught me so much. I cannot I cannot put into words. I'm stuttering. I cannot even put into words how much it means to me, the difficulties I went through, because there I found who I am.
Beautiful.
So, was it difficult? I think because I was living in my own world, I didn't much care about what other people thought. Yeah, it's difficult when you don't fit in as a young child. I've never fit in, but I was never meant to fit in. And I think that was the greatest thing that could happen to me. And maybe it sounds weird, or some people will not understand, but I really truly believe through our darkest periods there you will find your light. Yeah.
I agree with you so much. And I've experienced that many times, through my own journeys. I think at the time when you're in that dark, dark hole and you can't see any way out, later on when you do start to move through those levels of coming through that dark place and you look back, you think, wow, I've grown in strength, but I'm also, through depression, we learn to love ourselves. We learn to be okay with ourselves. And I think, that's a huge lesson to learn.
Yeah. But only, Angela, if you're brave enough to listen to your own voice. Because a lot of people, they're still going through heavy things, but they go in this, negative thought, and they go deeper in it because they're afraid to connect with themselves. They don't know how it is to love themselves, like truly love themselves. And that's why I decided I'm here to help people, because I know how it feels, not, that you don't want to live anymore because the pain is so great that you feel like I don't know how to deal with it. And if you think about it, that only 5% of the people are like really happy.
Isn't that
tragic? It's actually very sad. And I always felt, like I said, I will be here to help people out, and that's what I do in my business. It's not only about the money. Yes, it makes good money, but there is nothing more fulfilling than when you have a client who is stuck due to whatever reason, and within 2 months
they have that breakthrough.
They're happy again. And only when you go through that experience yourself, you can understand the happiness of being happy again.
And I guess when you are in that dark place and you're looking for somebody to reach out and guide you through, you need to have somebody that can understand where you are. It's no good. Think positive, do your affirmations, put your affirmations, but when you're in that dark space, it's beyond that. You need to find tools and strategies and start rebuilding those blocks again, as you said, to find who you are, to then relive. I wonder, what's your experience on things like social media on mental health? Because I know you have a very strong mental health background, and we're seeing now this huge increase in especially teenage boys. I think the difference between teenage boys and teenage girls is that teenage girls will sit together, they will complain, they will cry, they will, we talk, women talk, whereas for men, especially teenage boys, they go more into isolation.
Yes.
And they're more into isolation, they're more on their screens, they're less having this human connection. How can parents really help their children to balance this digital world that we're moving into now and keep tapping into that spiritual connection within themselves?
I think social media is a very good place where you can learn, where you can improve yourself, but it's also a dangerous place. And what do I mean with it? First of all, you ask me a few questions. How can parents balance that out? I don't believe in telling your children how to do it. I believe in showing, giving the example. But when you are, as a parent, in a disbalanced era of your life, or you're in a marriage where you're not happy, what example do you give your children?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you know what it is, Angela? We don't cope with things by what we are taught. We cope with things by how we go through that, how we are learned to behave. So I think, and this is the reason why I still don't have children. Before you start thinking about children, ask yourself, where am I in life? Can I give my child the support, the knowledge, and the life that my child deserves? So, coming back to social media, it depends on when you see that your child is struggling. First of all, a lot of parents don't know because they don't see it in themselves, so how will they recognize that in their child? But once you see that your child is struggling, try to be their safe place. You know, don't judge, because people do things because they're stuck with themselves. No one likes to harm themselves in any way. So what I think the first thing that a parent should do is create a safe environment and see your child for who your child is, not who you want your child to be. And by doing that, you will solve anything that your child goes through.
Yeah, because then the child has this confidence and this unconditional
Yeah.
love for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're being unconditionally loved by the parent.
Yeah. If you think about it, Angela, your brain of a child is like 90% developed when at the age at 5.
Everything before that is just the programs.
Yes, and you can get rid of that program because your brain adapts to what you want to believe. Why is it so difficult for people nowadays to change behavior? Because you know, we go to a psychiatrist when we feel stuck. What happens there? You talk about things. But talking doesn't solve the problem only, because we are spiritual beings. And what do I mean with that? We all have a soul. When your soul is out of your body, there is no life. No machine can make you, keep you alive in the hospital when your soul is out of your body. So we have an energetical body, and we have a physical body. I'm looking now at you, that's the physical body, but we also have our energetical body. And everything we go through creates a program in our brain. And from that program, we do our daily things. So how I help my clients is not only focus on the mental, onto how to rewire your brain, but healing. Healing is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. It's like the daily showers that you take. That is how you should heal yourself also. Because everything that we experience is not only a memory in our brain, but it's a memory in our energy. And the moment you start to heal, you can disconnect that heavy energy from that memory. You want to try it?
I would love to.
We will do it now.
Let's
live.
do a live session
I
right
get
here.
goosebumps. Well, you said you went through some difficult experience in life, right? Do you trust me fully? Even though we just met?
I do.
Yeah?
I do.
Okay. Because I need you to fully open to what we're going to do now.
Okay, I'm all in.
Yeah, you're closing your eyes already. Yeah, take some water, please, if you.
Take some water. Alrighty, here we go.
Can you repeat?
Uncross
Can you?
my
Yes.
legs. Sit straight.
Yes. And open your hands on your lap.
Okay.
And relax, just relax. And I'm going to ask you something difficult, but again, trust me fully in this. Please recall a memory where you felt like you were struggling. Put your shoulders down, relax your body completely. And recall a memory where you felt like you were struggling, where you still feel when you go back to that memory, you still experience the pain, the emotions. Do you feel it?
I do.
Okay. Please recall it a little bit stronger. And if you get emotional, let it go, because we're going to disconnect the energy now from that memory. Is it correct that you feel like a tingling sensation under your feet?
I don't feel tingling, but I feel warm.
You
I
feel
can feel
warm?
heat.
Okay. Are your toes a little bit colder than your hands?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, then their energy is there. Okay. What I want you to do is take a deep breath and then hold your breath and squeeze your whole body from your eyebrows to your toes and hold it like 5 seconds. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Breathe in. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Squeeze your whole body and let it go. You're doing great. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Breathe in when you're ready. Hold it and squeeze your body even tighter than you did before. And hold it and let go. Do you feel like a tingling sensation in your lower belly?
I feel a lightness in my head. I don't know about my lower belly.
Energy is going through you. The lightness in your head is because blockages are removed, so you can feel a little bit pressure on your crown chakra. You're smiling because this energy feels nice, right? Okay, we're going to do this. And that lightness in your head, that's completely okay. I will explain you later what just happened.
Okay.
We will do it one more time. Breathe in is the last time that we're doing this. Breathe in, hold it, and squeeze your whole body. And let it go. Can you please recall that same memory?
Yeah, I don't have the same negativity connected to it now.
How did you know that I would ask that?
No, I didn't. But I don't feel...
Does it feel like you need to come back a little bit, like you were in a different
little
space?
spacey.
Yeah. What you need to do? No, don't cross your legs.
Uncross my legs. Yeah, now I feel warm.
Yeah, this is how.
That's a beautiful feeling, though.
How was this? What did
you
feel?
it's funny because the impression of... I'll share with you what it was, and then I'll explain for anyone
if you
watching.
feel open enough to share it.
I'm very okay to share it. So I remember in school, I was very badly bullied by a teacher in primary school, and she used to make me sit in the corner and face the wall. And that feeling of, and I know that feeling of feeling small and being told that, you know, you're not good enough and you should be seen and not heard, has always had this, I guess, long-term effect on me about not fully putting myself out there. But it's interesting, when I did that, it shifted to how small the teacher was, maybe small-minded, you know, in terms of shifting the energy from me being bad to suddenly her being bad and maybe unaware. Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you.
Wow, you're welcome. So this is what happens, and if it's correct, you also feel a little bit lighter in your body,
yeah,
right?
I do.
Yes. This is what happens when you heal, and this is what I teach my clients, actually everyone who I meet, because I believe I meet people for a reason. I tell them to heal themselves, and this is how easily it goes, because, I will tell you what happened when you felt light in your head. When I heal people, what I do, I disconnect them from, I will not say earth energy, but from the here and the now, because otherwise I cannot take that energy out of it. So what happens, here is your crown chakra, that is where we are aligned with the universe. So what happens, it opens up, and now my guidance is telling me that's why you feel so warm in your head since the moment we met. Because energetically with everyone with who you connect, there is an exchange of energy. And that's why I always say to everyone, be aware with who you sit at a table, be aware with who your friends are, be aware of what kind of partner you choose, because that's with who you will align, and that's with where you will come in life. So what happened when you felt a little bit lightheaded, you were brought into a different space, in a different energy, where you could have the disattachment from the memory and the energy. And if it is correct, when I asked you the second time to go back through it, it was like you see yourself as a young child, but you see it now from a distance. Is that correct?
Although, yes, exactly. So the first time I am the child.
Yeah.
The second time I'm seeing the child.
Yes.
And the third time I'm almost seeing the teacher as small. So
Yeah.
the perception of what was happening, the dynamics of that
Was
situation
completely
had shifted.
changing. Yes.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm
It's
so
fascinating.
happy.
Fascinating. So how long, I'm really interested, if somebody has gone through a really, because this was obviously at the time a trauma for me, and I still remember it, so it's clearly stored somewhere in my DNA.
Yeah.
But if somebody has gone through a really severe trauma, maybe the loss of a parent, or they've been attacked, or they've been stuck in, a situation where they couldn't escape, how long and how many sessions would it take for somebody to be able to go through this
I get
shift?
goosebumps again. You will not believe this, but I can reduce trauma only in one session by 75%.
Incredible.
And of course, it takes more than the 2 minutes that we have done here. And that's also why I said I feel so happy with the life that I have right now, because God has gifted me with an amazing gift where I can help other people out. So yeah, it can happen in one session, but again, it's not only disconnecting from the trauma. You need to rewire your brain. You need to adapt to different behavior. So I don't give like 2 or 3 sessions. I do half year or year coaching with my clients. And most of my clients, they have a business. They want to make more money. And it is so amazing to see when people heal, how their business explode. I am going to give you an example. Last year a client came to me. She was not happy in her relationship, disconnected from her parents, never felt like love for the parents. She was like really depressed, and I had a reading with her in 2018, a psychic reading, and we never spoke actually after that. And last year she connected with me again, and we started coaching, and she was afraid, and every single coaching session she was crying, and I told her, just have faith. Within 2 months she was doing good again. And I told her, it's not like, okay, everything will shift, because it needs practice. Your brain is able to get new connection, to make a new connection in the brain when you do one thing like 3-4 times a day for 6 till 8 weeks. You need to continue.
Get a new habit.
Yeah, you need to continue the same thing over and over again, and then you will rewire your brain and make a new pattern in your brain from where you will live. So it takes time, and within 2 months she was doing actually very well, and then her business started to flow, and we closed our coaching, I think 4.5 million euros. How much dirham is that? 17?
Incredible.
17 million dirham we made, and her business was not doing well. She was not making money. So what I say to everyone, if you want to make money, adjust yourself to where you are and where you want to come. And it is a difficult process, I will not lie. But
the rewards
yeah.
for the effort that we put
But
in.
you will only understand when you are there, right?
Of course.
First you will go through it, and then there is this woman who is your coach who says don't give up. But Angela, everything that I'm teaching my clients right now is because I went through it myself. Like I mentioned, when you mentioned you were bullied by your teacher, I was bullied at school also, because I was this fat kid who was different, who was very emotional. I have been through childhood trauma. I've been sexually abused since a young age of 4 till 12. So that does something with you. The way, and this, by the way, the first time that I'm talking openly about it, and the way that you behave when you are an adult depends on what you went through as a child. So I had 2 depressions. Life has thrown a lot to me, but I'm so happy for all these things. And people always say, Shandia, you would still choose to go through the same? Yes, because otherwise I would not have what I have right now. Otherwise I would not be what I am right now. And that is what I want to say. Everyone who is watching, everyone who is listening, please be strong enough to care for yourself, because when you really care for yourself, that's where the healing process starts. Find someone who can heal, not only a therapist, but who works energetically, because the energy in the world is changing. We're in this Aquarius time where children are born who are more sensitive. You have 2 children yourself, and I feel your youngest is very much sensitive.
He is. Yeah.
He's very creative. I feel such a happy energy with it. And when we start to understand how actually the universe works, and when you learn how to manipulate your own energy, and manipulate not in the wrong way, but
For good.
yes, like here is where I'm right now, and I'm going to change this in my brain. Here is where I want to go, so I will focus on what I want and align to that. Because suppose I will take an example of money. I have clients who start with me, they're not making like 40,000 a month, but they want to reach to 10 million that year. And then and then we go through the processes, right? And then when I look at their business and I'm seeing they don't even can take the responsibility of making 100,000 a month, how do you think
They're
you will
not
attract
ready.
that 10 million? We all want money. We all want a happy life. But are you doing what you need to do to attract that?
That's the thing. I think, unfortunately, one of the downsides to things like social media is they see this instant gratification, especially for kids. They think, I'll land in Dubai, I'll make my millions, I'll be a multimillionaire. But you know as well as I do that if you're not ready to receive that money, it will go. If you are lucky enough for whatever reason to get it, it won't stay with you long. Because then you don't know how to manage it and take care of it. The psyche's not ready for that.
Yes, because the universe aligns with what you think and what you are and what you do. And even if you have that 10 million and you're afraid to lose it, what do you think will happen? You will lose it. And the thing with social media, I use social media a lot. The reason why, because I take learnings from it, I'm very much interested with how the brain works. I'm studying now neuroscience, and there is so much to learn from social media except the study that you're doing. But what you see nowadays, everyone is an influencer.
I know.
But if you will watch all those reels, they copy it from someone else, and you hear the same reel over and over again. And then I'm thinking, where is your authenticity? Where is your real message? So there is something with, and don't trust everything you hear on social media, because everyone is nowadays the expert.
Exactly.
Everyone, to be honest, everyone is a life coach nowadays. Everyone does spiritual work. Everyone can do readings nowadays, but people don't understand how important it is that you do it from knowledge that you have yourself. Because you know what? It is very important, and that's what I always say to clients and everyone who's listening now. When you are ready to choose to work on yourself and you want to do that by a coach, make sure you feel safe with that person. And don't only believe what they say will happen, but you need to have a connection. And look at what have those people done in the past, because again, everyone can name themselves a coach.
Exactly.
But did you have the proper education to coach people? And that is something that is, I think, dangerous, because when you have someone who is mentally not balanced, imagine what will happen if you say or do things and that person is mentally not stable.
No, I agree. And more harm can be done than good in those situations. So be very mindful of who you decide to work with. I 100% agree with that. How do you feel about this? We're moving now into this new digital era and AI is coming in. So I have a friend and an acquaintance, and she created her own AI avatar. And this AI avatar is her go-to for everything. So she wakes up in the morning and she says, you know, hi, I think her name's Julie. Hi, Julie. Hi, you know, her name.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today? Well, I'm feeling like my lips are a little bit dry and I've got a slight headache. And the avatar will say, okay, that means that you're slightly dehydrated. I recommend you drink this, this, and this. Later on in the day, she may have a disagreement with her husband or her child. And she goes to her avatar, Julie, I've had this conversation with my husband and I'm feeling this way. And I want to resolve it with him, but right now I'm feeling angry. What do I do? And the avatar is coaching her through how to deal with this situation with her husband.
Yeah.
So what's your view on technology, and how will technology impact positively but also negatively our own mental health?
Regarding to technology, I'm really an old-fashioned person. I'm the old.
I am as well.
I still have a paper agenda.
Well, me too. Look, paper and pen and notebook. So old-fashioned.
So when you ask for my opinion, I will say it how I think it is, how I believe it is, because AI, I downloaded like last week only on my phone, and there was a friend who was saying, hey, you can do this and this. And I thought, really? And then she told me you can even have your own coach at AI.
Correct.
I said, really? She said, yeah. And exactly the example that you were giving, she told me, it's like a friend who you talk to. If you feel down, the positive side, I think it can help people, because almost everyone feels lonely nowadays. So if you have that friend that can be there to listen, and that's a whole different thing than advising. To listen and to pour your heart out, like you mentioned, if she had an argument with her husband. Nowadays it's very difficult to find real friends who you can call up, who answer, and who give you real advice. So in that matter, I think you can use it business-wise. I think you can use it, but going on a deeper level of understanding and giving advice, people should be careful, I think.
I agree.
Because by the end of the day, it is a machine, you know, and it doesn't know everything. And I think what people should do nowadays, use their common sense. But that's very difficult, to be honest.
It is. And I think technology, as wonderful as technology is progressing, will never take away this human connection. You know, this feeling of, if I'm going through something very significant in my life, like what we just did, you know, with this memory, to have somebody sitting across from you and reassuring you and holding that safe space so that you can heal and you can go through your transition. I just don't know if technology will ever have that same.
I don't think so, because again, the human experience is completely different. I don't see AI doing with you what I just did with you, because
Me too. And the energy, as you said, we're sharing energy fields and connecting with each
just
other.
as again, you know, to talk for your business wise, to make things easier, to do things faster. I think AI is a great thing to use. But when it comes to like really self-development, professional advice, doctor-wise, because I think even if you will ask AI, hey, I have these symptoms, what do you think it can be? It will give you a list for all the things, for all the things that you can be diagnosed on. So you should use, again, your common sense for what cause do you want to use it? And again, sorry that I say this, but common sense is hard to find nowadays with people. And I think, especially in Dubai, because people want to have the fast life, they don't take the time to sit down and really feel what they are feeling. Because when you go outside and you ask someone, hey, how are you doing? Even if it's your friend, it's always good, fantastic,
Fine.
amazing,
Okay,
great, it couldn't be better.
True.
But then I see their energy and I think, well, it doesn't resonate with what I feel and what I see. So, yeah, it is a great thing that even if you go through hardships, to program your mind, you're doing well. But connect with yourself if you really are doing well. And Dubai has so many great things to offer. I really believe You can make it here, but only when you are connected with yourself. That's why I say everything in Dubai is fast. Common sense is sometimes hard to find, but when people would stop their life for an hour and just sit with themselves, see how they will improve.
Yeah, this is what I think, as you said, we are on 1,000,000 miles an hour in Dubai. It's incredibly fast paced. What's your view on meditation, and how do you feel meditation plays a part in somebody rewiring their brain, learning new patterns, and healing from traumas that they've maybe gone through?
Those are three different things, because healing from trauma you will not do only through meditation. Rewire your brain you will not only do from meditation. Meditation should be your priority in life, and people always think, I will tell you how meditation actually is. People always think, oh, you need to sit still on a yoga mat and my mind needs to be clear. I should not be able to think about anything. Chant mantras. No, that's not what meditation is. Mm-hmm. Meditation in the first place is focusing on your breath. And when you do deep breathing, so from your lower belly, that is where you will start, like you come in your own body again. Because we live from this part. Right. A lot of people don't breathe well. They breathe from the chest. Breathing. Yes. Mm-hmm. So what happens? All the energy gets here. You're not grounded. So what meditation is actually is connecting with yourself again. And by simple breathing exercises, you do that already. Mm. That is a form of, that's actually what meditation is. You can do meditation in many ways. You don't need to find a space where, everything is aligned and the light is white and flowers and trees and no. You can even do it when you're in the car. No, not in a car.
Maybe not driving. A stationary car.
When you were on the passenger side. I say in the car because I always do it. I'm never driving. I don't like to drive. But when I'm in the car, I'm always doing it. And people always ask me, why don't you drive? You don't have a license. I have my license for 20 years. Uh-huh. But I like to use that moment to connect with myself again when I go from one appointment to another appointment or go from one client meeting to another meeting. What I do, and this is like really fix tip to do in 2 minutes when you're not driving. Sit and breathe.
From the diaphragm.
Yes, put your hands on your lower belly, and your lower belly should expand when you are breathing. And it's difficult because a lot of people do that. And then
from here.
Yeah, and still their lower belly expands.
Especially as we're sitting all day, we're at the computer, we're driving, we don't do this deep breathing from diaphragm.
And put both feet on the floor, on the ground, or where you are at that moment, and just start breathing, and you will feel a light sensation, the lightness in your head when you're doing it correctly. So meditation, everyone should start actually that day with it. I will give another tip. What I always do when people ask me, how are you so well balanced? I'm not always well balanced. Of course, I'm a human being myself. Sometimes you go through things. But the one thing I always do every single day without any exception is the moment my eyes open, I check in with myself. Mm-hmm. And what I want people to do, and what do I mean with check in with yourself, ask, how did you wake up today?
Interesting.
Yeah, because there is where you will align, and your whole day will evolve around that. What do you need? Because I'm going to give you an example. When I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, I don't immediately take my phone only to see the time, and I try to leave it there.
I'm the same. Mm.
And then I check in with myself, how do I feel? Sometimes you had a bad dream. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I really feel tired. What are you going to do that? Because this is a process. Then you're going to ask yourself, what do I need now in this moment to feel better? And I know the alarm rings, you need to wake up, Set your alarm 10 minutes before. And stop snoozing. That is such a bad habit. Stop snoozing because it disconnects you with yourself.
And you feel so much worse when you keep hitting that. I've done that before, 3 snoozes, and I'm groggy the entire day.
Yeah, when you feel like you're tired, snooze it, but not to go back to sleep, but just to be awake and take that moment to feel what you're feeling. How did I wake up and what do I need? Do I need a long shower, or do I just need to sit and stare out of the window? And when you wake up perfectly fine, okay, then start your day. But this is where it all starts, Angela, the moment when we wake up, because what happens when we are asleep, our body processes everything that we went through that day. They say, like little children, they sleep a lot because they process the day. Not only little children, we as an adult do the same.
That's when the subconscious mind can then start to...
Yes. So especially like we're living in this fast-paced, there is so much pressure. Even if you're working for a boss or you have your own company, there is always pressure. You have your family life, maybe you're married, you have your children, so there is a lot you're responsible for.
True.
So you process all those things while you are sleeping. That's why sometimes you wake up feeling drained. So what you do at that moment, hey, what do I need right now to really take care of myself? And only by doing this, your life will improve.
Reset in the morning,
Yes.
which is the name of
Yes.
your...
And you ask about to rewire the brain. This is how you rewire your brain. We're sitting here, but in my mind, I'm like, hey, what I'm going to do next? I have an appointment after this. I have like 1 hour. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to digest everything because, like I said, when we came to sit here at this table, I felt the heat going through my body too, and I still feel it because this is not only in conversation, this is an energetical exchange of energy, what we're having right now. So every moment where you are, feel what is my need right now, and you cannot, act on it immediately sometimes, but keep it in
But
mind.
you have the awareness.
Yeah, and every time when you do this, you check in with yourself. So what happens, I'm trying to explain it differently. If you are my friend and you give me advice and you're saying, hey, Shandia, I don't feel well. Shandia, I feel tired. And I never listen to you. What will happen between us?
We get disconnected.
Yes.
We
This
lose
is-
respect for each other.
This is what happens with yourself.
With yourself.
Because
correct.
your soul, your body is telling you, but you're neglecting it. So the moment you start to listen and ask yourself, what do I need at this moment?
Which
and
goes
start
back to
be-
that inner child.
Yes, and start to behaving upon what you need. That is where you get connected with yourself. And by doing this, you will rewire your brain, but you need to act on it, right? And that is how you rewire your brain. That is where you expand in self-love, because, everything is different layers of energy. People who are in the highest form of energy are people who are really connected with themselves, people who meditate a lot, people who have a lot of money and are able to maintain that amount are also in those highest energy.
And they eat well, they nurture their body, they care for themselves, right?
Yes.
If we don't love ourselves, then we have the stimulants, the toxins.
We have, but everything is in balance. But those people, they do business based on what they feel, not only the amount that is on the contract there.
Correct. So it's aligned with their values.
Yes,
and integrity.
and that's what I always say to people: don't only look at the money when you want to achieve something, because I say no to clients. I say no to 150,000.
If our values don't align, we don't.
Yes.
We don't work with people
And
that.
the more you appreciate your own feeling, the more you will expand, because they say authenticity is the highest energy there is. Why do you think that's higher than love and money? Because to be able to be in the authenticity energy, in your authentic energy, you need to have self-love.
Of course.
Otherwise, you cannot be authentic.
True.
So that's why that's the highest frequency. And by doing all these steps, and I hope everyone who's listening are making notes or listen again to it, because it will change your life by these little steps.
Amazing. And it's not anything grand. We can just bring these, as you said, if we can just wake up 10 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
spend that 10 minutes with yourself, do your rituals, do your journaling if that helps, or I like to do a cold plunge in the morning because I find that it stimulates my entire nervous system, and then I'm
It does.
awake and ready to start the
And
day.
it calms down your nervous system. It awakens it and it calms down your nervous system.
Settles.
Yes.
So I have my own, I'm quite regimented in that I do need my little 30 minutes before the kids wake up, before husband before the day starts. It's really important to me. If I don't have that, I find my whole day I feel like I'm playing catch up all day long.
Yes.
It's out of whack. It's out of balance.
So beautiful that you're doing that.
It's a must for me. Okay, just before we finish, I'd like to talk about the S reset method, because this is something that you've developed yourself.
Oh, wow, you did your research.
Of course.
Wow.
So what is the reset method and how does it work?
I have developed this method. I'm in this, started my own company in 2016. And everything, yes, I'm doing neuroscience study right now, but all the knowledge that I have regarding spirituality, it's what my guidance is telling me how to do things. This is what I just did with you. It's how my guidance is telling me, has told me how to do it. So actually what I did with you is the S reset method.
Okay.
We work on the brain, we work on the physical body, we work on the energetical body, and we work on you as a person. If you combine these 3-4 things, elements together, and you will not work on every element at the same time, because I ask you to breathe in. Well, that's a physical thing that you do. Then I ask you to go to the memory. That is something that you do in the brain, how you rewire the brain in that moment. So when you combine all these elements together, the healing journey, it goes like 50 times faster than when you would only go to a therapist to talk. Because again, energy is aligned with memory. You can try to change the memory, but still the energy is there. So if you work on the brain, if you work on the physical body, if you work on the energetical body and how you think, your cognitive behavior, if you combine those all, then you will have this result. And that's the S reset method. And I have before I was only doing readings, psychic readings, but I didn't have only clients who wanted to know about the work. They came with their traumas. And that's where I developed this after 4 years. In those 4 years, I coached like 4,000 or 5,000 clients. And there I find this client has this, but it's the same with that client. And I connected the dots, and my guidance told me, do healing like this. Do things like that. If I want something to happen with my client, I put it in my brain, I think of it, I send the energy, and then it happens.
So that the ability to be able to heal is much faster with this kind of a method than if you're doing maybe counseling or psychology or something along those lines.
Yes, that's a great method, by the way. Of course, keep doing that. But again, it will not be so fast because we are also an energetical being.
Yeah, we forget that.
Yeah.
Right? We're so busy trying to fix the mind that we forget that actually there's
and fixing the mind, rewire the brain, adjusting to and adapt to new behavior, that is needed. But you cannot only take care of one part. It will take time. You will heal, but what you notice and what I have noticed, because I had clients who were like 12, 20 years going to a psychiatrist and then come to me, and in a few sessions they're like, Shandia, I never felt like this before. And that's the thing, if you work on that energetical part, because we are all energy. If you heal, if you take the heaviness from there, then it's much easier for you to adapt. And I'm going to give you like an example. If you have someone who wants to lose weight, but that person weighs 200 kg, and you will tell them, go outside and run, what do you think will happen?
I mean, it's not going to happen.
You need to release the heaviness,
Of course.
the weight. But the weight comes from something. There is a kind of behavior that has been a coping mechanism for your life, and now first we need to change that. And then you will see those people start losing weight themselves easily.
It's true, actually. That happened with a friend of mine in the UK. So she was always um, a little bit overweight, but she had a lot of childhood trauma. And, you know, I think that was her protection mechanism, keeping people away. And once she'd worked through those issues, she wasn't even exercising. The weight just started to, she said, I don't know what's happening. It's just dropping off.
Yeah.
But she'd fixed things mentally and energetically as well, the two together.
Yeah, so that's actually what happens, and I'm really happy with this method that I developed, because that is how I do my coaching on. That is how I do my courses. I create my own courses about healing, about manifestation. Everything is based on on the S Reset method, because that is how I work. And when people start to do this, of course, you need to have the ability that you're able to do healings with yourself, or you need to go to someone to heal. But if you combine these 4 different factors, yeah,
Oh, powerful.
amazing things happen.
Fascinating. Now, Shandia, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
My Instagram,
Instagram
Shandia
website.
Bhondu. They can text or WhatsApp. My website is, I have my company in the Netherlands, I have my company here, and I'm converting everything now to English. Okay. So my website needs to be created again. I never used my website because people come to me from mouth to mouth. So I created my website like a few years ago. My assistant put everything for me on that, but it's not what I do right now. So it depends on when people are listening to this, but just find my name, Shandia Bhondu, on Instagram or my website. That's how they can connect with me. My Instagram at this moment is not much. I've started a new Instagram. I really want to give, because I don't believe everything should cost money. I want to create my reels, like really knowledge that I want to share with it. So yeah, I'm working on that part. So that's how people can reach out.
Beautiful. And we'll list all of that underneath.
And
the
I'm
podcast
launching
too.
my first course in English in September, and it's a healing course. And I will put everything that I'm learning about neuroscience, combine that together. So, because not everyone is able to afford a personal coach. And I believe I'm not here only for the people with money. That's why I'm creating courses, so people can do it themselves and know how to do it for the rest of their life. Beautiful. For themselves.
Wow, what a conversation. Thank you so much, Shandia. This has been enlightening, healing. I mean, you have this beautiful calming energy. I felt that the moment you walked in, this calmness about you. So thank you so much for sharing with us today so authentically. And thank you for my free session during this podcast. But that was really incredible. We'll link all the social platforms underneath.
Thank you so much, Angela, for having me. It was such a great conversation. Yesterday I asked Ankita, do I need to prepare? And she said, no, we will go with the flow. And I love this. Thank you so much. Thank you for being receptive and being open to do this with me and to experience energy. It was a great pleasure.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. I don't know about you, but I feel very zen at the moment, so I'm very much in my calming energy. Thank you for joining, and we will see you in the arena next time.